Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 5 of Dr. Stone. Yes, I know we just did an episode yesterday, but with the way that ended, and just honestly with how much I'm into this, I want to see more. I want to see more. And I just think that this is what I want to do today. This is kind of like the biggest example of the entire thing I mentioned, where it's like, oh, with reactions, I just do whatever I want to do each day, whatever I'm in the mood for. I'm in the mood for more Dr. Stone. So, now, before we get this started, I do want to address some comments. We did this last time, and I want to do this again this time because, one of the comments is pretty long, and it'll be easier to address here than it will be just by typing it out. Um, and two, I was actually told last time that it was appreciated that I responded in this way. Um, okay, so first off, there was one thing I seemingly misunderstood or completely missed last time. Apparently, in the flashback, Senku's dad wasn't necessarily doing anything shady at all. He was like selling his car to a used car dealership. That's what like the stack of money and everything was. Um, I might, I might have been talking at that point. I haven't gone back and checked, but I might have been talking at that point, and so I might have missed something a little bit. But yeah, like I remember seeing the stack of money, and it's like just like focusing on hands and stuff, and so it's like my mind like went to like shady shit. Um, so yeah, um, I might have missed something. It happens. It happens with reactions. I mean, that's just an occupational hazard. Um, so yeah, I had another comment that was like just going over a lot of the stuff I said, so let's address that here. Um, let's see. So yeah, a lot of what I said about Sukasa was mentioned and his goodness, but also the fact that he is doing bad things and everything. It's it's a very complex situation, which, as I've stated, is basically why Sukasa is my favorite character so far. And yeah, a lot of it does come down to interpretation, as this person mentioned in their comments. It's it seems simple at times, but it can seem more nuanced at times too, and it depends on how you view it and everything in terms of Sukasa's worldview. And yeah, I mean, it's more on though the fact that, like I said, he kind of views it like in this solely black and white way. Like again, all adults are evil and corrupt. All kids are pure-hearted. It's like that's just not true. Like I said, he himself is kind of proof of that because his views here are that they themselves are not pure-hearted, and there's absolutely nothing. There's no reason for him to believe that all adults are corrupt and everything either. He's generalizing. Generalization it basically comes down to your giving all of a certain group the traits, issues, positive, anything like that of a few. It's a logical fallacy, literally, to blame all for the acts of the few, because that's what he's doing. And we literally know that's what he's doing because of his backstory, the little bit we know about. So again, it's clear to me he's not a bad guy, but he's doing bad things unquestionably. The commenter also mentioned that their favorite character is Senku because of his mix of logic and emotion, which is something I touched on last time. Um, and they said, in a way, he uses his logic to serve his emotions. And I do think he's very aware of that himself. He just doesn't always show it to the people around him. Um, this person also mentions in this regard, talking about thinking that Senku was bluffing Tsukasa and playing on that kind of prejudice. And Tsukasa just being too smart to fall for that. And it's like, yeah, I can see that. Like, the idea that Senku kind of opens up more around those he trusts and kind of becomes more like logical robot kind of personality around those who he doesn't know if he can trust or he knows he can't. And that's completely fair. But even when he's just around like the likes of Taiju and whatnot, he still goes on about the logic and everything. Because it is the way he thinks. He does think from that level because he's so scientifically minded. It's something that, as we saw in the last episode, he built into himself through all those years of studying and learning, which is fair. But we also see that he does still act on emotion. Sometimes they can play into each other, yes. Sometimes the logic can definitely give way to his emotion, and sometimes his emotion can be based on his logic. They're not exclusive. Like, that's how humans work. No part of a human is mutually exclusive. They all have to work together to create the human, the person. Like, me being super emotional is not separate from me understanding that emotion can be dangerous at times. Or better example, me being emotional is not separate from uh, my my logical mind in any way. And not that I'm like as logically minded as Senku, no, but um, the different sides to me are just parts of a whole. The parts of me that love like combat sports like pro wrestling and boxing are the same, make up the same whole as the parts of me that love nerdy shit. It's not separate. You know what I mean? Um, it's just it's just again parts. And yeah, you can look at them separately to distinguish them for various reasons here and there, but in the end, they are still of the whole. So you just got to remember that. Um, so yeah, just for the commenter who put this like kind of long block of text and everything, don't worry about like giving long feedback and everything. I'm completely fine with that. Um, because sometimes I can do it myself. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to just how we view it in the moment and everything. Because again, keep in mind, just want to make sure you understand that when I'm reacting to these, whether it's this or anything else, I am also reacting. I've stated this before, but I am doing something actively. It's not like when I'm just sitting here watching something on my own time. I might like make an offhanded comment to myself. But for the most part, when I'm watching something on my own time, I'm pretty quiet. I don't really say anything because there's not really anything or anyone to talk to. But when I'm doing a reaction, I'm talking to you. I am specifically making the effort to, react, not just sit here blank faced the entire time. I have to react as physically and emotively as I can but also I have to actually say things. I have to actually, you know, commentate. Because not only is that necessary for transformative content, but it's also just how you do a reaction. You have to react. And that does take effort, which is why I've said, like in the past, like movies and stuff tend to take more out of me because I'm doing it for a longer period of time for something that's a little bigger in scope and everything. But I'm actually actively doing something. And so, because of that, I might miss something that's said, or I might miss something that's shown. And that's why there's a lot of times where I'll like pause the video slightly just to get it out so I don't miss anything. But sometimes I'll be talking just for a moment and something will just completely fly over my head, like with apparently the Senku's dad selling his car and everything. Going back and watching that again, I might be able to notice it. In fact, I probably will, especially because I know now. But I wouldn't, I didn't notice that the first time because, again, I was probably talking. And if not, then I just somehow missed it. I don't know. But either way, yeah, just wanted to address the comments and everything real quick. There wasn't too much to really go into, but I'm excited to get to more of this nonetheless because, like I said, I've been enjoying this a lot. So we're just gonna get this started, hope for the best, and see where that cliffhanger leaves us off. Just as a reminder, Tsukasa was about to kill Senku, but obviously that's not going to happen. I'm thinking either someone's going to come in and stop him, or Tsukasa's going to actually stop himself because he doesn't want to do it. Because I actually believe Tsukasa would, you know, have that moral quandary there. Or again, someone's going to stop him. It's not going to be Taiju. It would probably be the blonde girl, if anyone. But we'll see. We'll see. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. So let us get this going, see what happens, and yeah, just enjoy. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So we have now officially met Kohaku. Kohaku is the newest member of the Kingdom of Science, I guess we're calling it. And she is seemingly falling for Senku. Like, it's not entirely confirmed if what she said there at the end, like, I think I like you or whatever. It's not entirely clear if that's meant to be taken in a romantic sense or just in general, but I could see it, honestly. So we'll get back to Kohaku, but let's talk about everything else. So continuing off of last time, we see that Tsukasa actually surprisingly did try to kill Senku. And you could still tell he didn't want to, but he did follow through with it, which destroyed one of my theories that he was going to hold himself back or whatnot. Unfortunately, we can see now that he won't do that. That if he deems it fully necessary, he will kill another person who's alive, for one, unpetrified and all. But even if they're not like a corrupt adult in his eyes, someone who just basically gets in the way of him accomplishing his goals of creating a uncorrupt world. So, yeah, again, while Sukasa, I still stand by that he's not a bad person. He is still twisted and doing bad things. That's still undeniable. He is willing to do things he actively doesn't want to do for his goals and is just, yeah, very twisted in how he views the morality of things. But I still do believe that he is salvageable. I still do believe that he can be redeemed. And I really do hope that happens, like genuinely. Now, a lot of these two episodes takes place in flashback. We get to see how Senku was first revived and how he acclimated to the stone world. It actually took some time. He actually had some trouble getting things off the ground. He had to experiment. He had to figure things out. He had to, you know, go through the scientific process to figure out how to make tools, how to design a lot of stuff. He had to deal with, experimentation. And eventually he got there. He got to the point where we know he was at when Taiju was revived. And speaking of, we even see the moment he finds Taiju, and we find out that he actually put him in the cave in the first place. We know he had left a message for him, so we knew he knew about Taiju, but we find out that, again, he put him in that cave personally, knowing that it would revive him. So, it's pretty interesting to see that we're getting more information, even still, episodes later, on what happened at the beginning. And we see continued evidence that Senku is not just purely logical, because we see when he finds Taiju, when he does confirm that that is Taiju and he is in, good condition still and everything, you can see the emotion on Senku's face at that scene. You can tell that he is genuinely happy to see his friend. Like, yeah, of course, he'll give an excuse on how it's logical because Taiju is, strong and is going to be super useful in this kind of stone world, but still. He also kind of proves that, he can do things without strength. He technically doesn't need Taiju to survive in this world. It just makes things easier having Taiju's strength and everything and stamina and all. But he doesn't need him. You know the real reason he made so much of an effort to bring him back and was so, strongly motivated to do so was because they're friends and he cares about Taiju. So I like seeing that side to him here as well. The entire thing with Senku narrating what the monkeys were thinking while watching him was weird. Just a little goofy, but really weird. The entire shiny monkey thing was so... Ugh. I don't know why, but it kind of grossed me out. It was just I don't say that. That's uncomfy. I don't know why, but it is. But we see, after the fact that Senku had a plan put in place, for Tsukasa, killing him. And I just demonstrated it myself. The neck. See, Senku had a part of the back of his neck still petrified, in the same way that Yuzuriha's toes before were still petrified. And we had already found out that when something is unpetrified, it heals minor injuries and stuff around the area. Or even upwards of slightly major injuries, even. It has a certain healing factor to it. It's not perfect, and it can't reconnect body parts that have been fully broken off, but it has some pretty strong healing properties nonetheless. And so Senku, who had been lately doing the entire like stretching around the neck and everything, and like putting his arm behind his neck like this and stuff like that, um, he had been doing that lately. And as we find out from Taiju, that's not just a thing he would normally do. So it was clearly a sign, and we find that both Taiju and Yuzuriha figure it out. They realize that he's trying to send them a message. They find the part of his neck that's still stone, and they realize they can use the revival fluid to help him. And it works. It actively works. Um, it shows not only that Senku had immense trust in these two, that he truly believed that they would not only figure it out, but would be able to help him here. But it also shows that he was literally putting his life in their hands. And that's insane to think about, because like that's more than just general trust. Like, you have to basically have the best relationship with a person to put your lives in their hands that uh legitimately. Like, there's a lot of people who will say like, oh yeah, you're my best friend, it's like I trust you with my life and everything. But a lot of the times, when people say that, they're either really just being nice, or they're close, but if a real situation came down to it, it would be tough to know what they would do. You have to be like the thickest of thieves. You would have to have the biggest bond with a person to not just mean it, but to actively put yourself in a position where that would actually come up. Because he knew that Senku knew that Tsukasa would do this. And so he was giving them a hint this entire time on telling them how to revive him. He knew that his life would not just be in their hands, but to this degree. And that he had to make sure that they understood. And it was this tiny hint. It was something that anyone could easily overlook. But they figured it out. And you could tell he was so proud of them that they had. Like him telling them they both get 10 billion points and everything. Like, obviously that's just a little quirk he has. He's constantly talking about the 10 billion points and everything. But you also can tell that he was super happy and proud that they had gotten his little hint. He was honestly kind of excited about it. And it shows that he does care for them. He does value them that much. So it's really cool to see. But for the time being, they decide to split up. And this is a really interesting kind of turn of events, because it's one I really didn't see coming. They decide to split up because of the fact that Tsukasa won't know that Senku is still alive. Because of this, they plan to have Taiju and Yuzuriha go to basically act as spies in Tsukasa's country, I guess you could say. While Senku works to bolster their kingdom, the kingdom of science, and create an army of science to take down Tsukasa. So, at least for now, the main plot of this isn't so much as surviving in this stone world as it is, like, building an army to fight against Tsukasa. That is the focus of at least this season for the time being. And I like that. I like that this has a direct story, a direct focus, a direct antagonist to deal with. And it's actually something that has made sense, has been built up, and has been worked out to to work. So it's really well done. It's really well done. So the problem is that we know that he is pretty smart. And he's probably going to figure out what they're doing. He's probably going to be able to tell what they're doing. And that's the biggest issue. Because that would ruin their entire plan. Now, whether or not he's able to figure out that Senku's still alive is a completely different story. But I think Tsukasa is going to figure out that those two are not going to be on his side. Even if he doesn't put it together right away, he's going to figure it out. So, meanwhile, at the end of these two episodes, we have Kohaku come in. We had seen a brief glimpse of her before, and we get a very interesting little reveal. So Kohaku attacks Tsukasa because she had seen what he had done. But she starts using this language and these specific phrases that make no sense. At least they make no sense for someone who would have been revived. And this is fascinating, because this means that Kohaku is more than likely not someone from the old world. While nothing is straight up confirmed yet, it is very strongly implied and very strongly believed that Kohaku was born in the stone world. However many years ago that would be at this point. I'd say she's probably around Senku's age, so somewhere between 15 and 17, I would say. I feel like Senku, Taiju, Yuzuriha, they're right around that age, 15 to 17. I don't know what year of high school they were in, but they were in high school. So I would say she's right around the same age as them. So that means that at least her parents would have had to have been born into, or would have had to have been revived. Now, this brings up a curious question. Does she have two parents who, had her in the modern day, or was she born from a woman who was already pregnant when she was turned to stone? Is that still a possibility? If a pregnant woman or pregnant person was revived from stone, then they'd still be able to give birth, right? The baby in them would also be revived, because they would have been, the entire petrification process would have stopped everything. It would have stopped all aging, all kind of like need for nutrients and stuff. So presumably it would like just start off right where it left off. But there's also the fact that because this girl doesn't seem to know anything about that kind of old world stuff, even calling the science that Senku is doing sorcery and stuff, I'm thinking that her parents or parents weren't the first generation to come back from stone. I'm thinking she's a couple generations, like 2 or 3 generations removed, and that like her family line, I guess, has been living in this stone world for a while now. Now, there's no evidence of this. This is just my guess. This is a theory. I am scientifically theorizing here. But that kind of makes the most sense to me, because if she was like if she was born from someone who was, revived, why would she refer to this stuff as sorcery? Her parents would probably explain things to her, right? Parent or parents. Um, I would think that things would be explained, but maybe not. Maybe like for the sake of the stone world and everything, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say with this kind of thing because it's obviously a very weird circumstance. But one thing we do know for sure is that Kohaku is a good person, unless she's playing some kind of really wild long game. Because we see, like, even before she even meets Senku, she attacks Tsukasa because of what he did to him. She had seen that he had taken Yuzuriha hostage, so she saw that he then presumably killed Senku, and she was angry at this and attacked him. She wasn't willing to hear Tsukasa out at all. She wasn't willing to do anything besides attack. And so she clearly didn't like what he did and saw it as immoral, right? So we then see how she reacts to Senku and everything. And like her response to like his question on what to do now and all. And she even says at the end that she's like basically gonna side with him. So yeah, it's pretty clear she's a good guy. Again, unless there's some wild ass long game being played here. And the opening paints her that way. The opening paints her as being super important. And I was kind of questioning, like, okay, how is this going to go? What's her role going to be? Well, we could clearly tell she's a fighter. She's a kind of a ninja. But it also seems that she is going to play a pretty notable role based on the opening. And we could see that she's at least someone who is willing to work with Senku's goal and everything. She seems to trust him. She seems to like him. That's good enough for the moment. Honestly, I don't see a reason to not trust her. I feel like she's kind of proven herself already, even when she didn't have any reason to, like with Tsukasa. So yeah. These two episodes, I'm also really glad I reacted to these two together. Like this was not planned by any means. I had a couple episodes downloaded because it's sometimes easier to just download a couple at a time. I used to do this thing like a little while back where I would download like the entire season at a time, but I just decided to stop doing that for now. Because it takes such a long time to get every one of those episodes downloaded. And some sites where I download from also have the issue of like, oh, this file is going to have a weird just set of numbers instead of a file name. So if I download like 10 episodes at a time, I have to make sure I get each one exactly right with changing the file names over and everything. Otherwise, I'm going to be watching them out of order and get really confused. So it's better to just do like, okay, let's download a couple at a time, and we'll go from there. So I had these two episodes already downloaded. So after watching the first one, after watching episode 5, it's like, I can't just stop there. I want to watch more. And they ended up basically kind of acting as a two-parter in a way, with Senku's backstory on him, how he revived and everything. That was kind of the big through line. Plus, the second episode, episode 6, also had the payoff for the revival that was started in episode 5. And we got to meet Kohaku. That's also a big plus for the second episode being reacted to as well here. Um, I do want to say, though, that don't expect this all the time. Like, I'm more than likely not going to be doing, like, multiple episodes every time. It's just something I did today because I had the other episode downloaded and, fuck it, I wanted to. I'm really into the series right now, but again, this is not going to happen all the time. Because a lot of the time I'm going to be, reacting to other stuff as well, and I'm not going to have the time to get to another episode. I had the time today. But either way, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of these two episodes of Dr. Stone? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.